What is up, my brothers from another mother? In today's video, we're going to be talking about testosterone. Now, why is this an important talk to have? Because as guys, as we get older, our testosterone levels start to drop after about the age of 25 year over year. We have roughly 15 to 17 times the testosterone levels that women do. But as we get older, we can make decisions and choices that can either accelerate the decline, or we can do things that can slow it down, mitigate, sort of offset it, so that we've got higher levels later into our life. Why does it matter? It matters for strength, for muscle tone, for muscle density. It matters for fat loss. It matters very much so for what we do upstairs in the bedroom when it comes to sexual performance. So keeping in the theme and tone of helping you guys become a better version of yourself, I don't have the answers to all of these things. Ben Greenfield's a guy that I would turn to for stuff like this. He really, really knows what he's talking about. He's a performance athlete, biohacker, Ironman competitor. He's done Spartan races. He bow hunts. He's a pretty awesome guy if you want to look for information. Now, he wrote this book when it comes to human performance. It's called Beyond Training. It looks like a big read, but it's actually written very well, so you can jump from section to section depending on what you're looking for. You want to improve sleep, you want to lose fat, you want to do this. It's there and it's laid out really well. I first came across him about 5 years ago at an event in Toronto called Mastermind Talks. He was a speaker there, and I happened to sit at the table during lunch, and we chatted briefly. So fast forward a few years, I joined a group called the Brotherhood, which is a business group for men, for entrepreneurs. And he held a mastermind retreat at his home in Washington. So he invited about 25 of us guys to his home. And we basically got to live like he does and his family does for several days. Really interesting layout, the way that he structured his life. Like, he's custom built this home that's got shielded wiring in the walls, doesn't have any Wi-Fi, keeps goats and chickens, for eggs and stuff like that. Has an obstacle course built on his property. So he really, really geeks out on stuff when it comes to the human body. I trust everything that he's saying here. We initially wanted to do this as a Skype call, kind of like an interview dialogue, and record the screen and upload it. Unfortunately, our schedules conflicted. So what I did was I emailed him the major questions that I wanted to cover, and he went pretty deep. Like I said, he's going to kind of geek out on some stuff and use mitochondria or other words that may not make a ton of sense. But there's links in the description below to either podcast sessions or articles that he's published that go deeper in the subject. I've read quite a few of them already. I took a lot of notes when I watched the video. So I hope you guys get some use out of it. Give the like button a big fat smash. If it's the first video you've seen, browse the rest of the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave me a comment below. I want to know what you guys think of this sort of content, whether or not you want to see more of it, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see covered as well. I hope you guys get a ton of value out of this. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Richard Cooper asked me to shoot this video for you about maximizing testosterone. My name is Ben Greenfield. I'm a personal trainer, a biohacker, anti-aging enthusiast, coach, speaker, consultant, blah, blah, blah. But really one of my passions is figuring out how to hack the body's testosterone levels, how to maximize things like libido, longevity, performance, muscle gain, speed, competitiveness, even mental function, all the things associated with testosterone. To avoid all the things associated with low testosterone, I'm going to totally annoy you during this whole video and sip my tea like that. I actually have 2 cups of it, so you're in for a long haul. Things that low testosterone can cause, specifically some of the big ones: cardiovascular disease, brain fog, junk that doesn't work is probably the most notable one that comes to mind, and plenty more. So anyways, Richard was kind enough to send over some questions, and he asked me the top tips for increasing testosterone in men, 3 top tips for increasing testosterone in men, 3 top things that men can stop doing that are killing testosterone, and then finally, my take on boner pills and whether there are non-pharmaceutical alternatives that are better, biohacks for increasing testosterone, and anything that I want to touch on as a last little thing. So we're going to jump right in. My top 3 tips for increasing testosterone. I might wind up throwing more at you than just 3, but I'm going to give you some of my biggies here, and these would be the basics. We'll jump into the biohacks in a little bit. The first is to sleep enough and to sleep often. I know this sounds boring, but the majority of daily testosterone occurs during sleep, especially in men. So fragmented sleep can inhibit testosterone levels. Sleep apnea is a biggie. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up on my computer and start an Evernote document so I can send over to Richard when I send this video over to you guys a few resources. I have a podcast that I did on sleep apnea. I've run into a ton of guys with low testosterone who actually suffer from sleep apnea, which is basically when you have certain periods of the night where you stop breathing. It appears that that is heavily associated with a decrease in testosterone production by about 10 to 15%. So be sure that you check out that podcast and that resource on sleep apnea. There are even companies now that are putting out custom-made mouthpieces that will stop sleep apnea. Easy ways to test for it. I'll include those notes for you. Number 2 would be to increase your actual intake of fat while decreasing adipose tissue. Now, if you follow, guys like Tim Ferriss and Dave Asprey and a lot of these self-experimenters and biohackers out there, you have of course seen recommendations to eat lots of wild-caught fish and Brazil nuts and olive oil and avocados, and that's not rocket science, but getting rid of extra belly fat and extra adipose tissue is just as important because that churns out inflammation and causes insulin releases or insulin surges that can significantly decrease testosterone. The number 1 tip that I can give you for shedding that body fat quickly is not to kill it, but to convert it. Number 1 way to do that, and I do this every day, put massive amounts of green tea or coffee into your system in the morning. And by massive amounts, it's not massive, but like 100 milligrams or so. You can use a green tea powder, drink green tea, drink coffee, whatever, and then take a 5-minute cold shower, go for a 20-ish minute cold swim, go jump in an ice tub if you happen to have an ice tub. A lot of my clients actually have just purchased ice tubs from their local hardware store and keep them out in the backyard. When they swing by a gas station, they'll toss some ice in there. It doesn't have to be full of ice, but if it's 50-ish degrees or cooler and you can just go soak out there with a whole bunch of caffeine in your system, you convert adipose tissue, white adipose tissue, into metabolically active brown fat. So in addition to getting rid of sleep apnea and digging into sleep apnea, another one would be to get rid of extra belly fat. And I like to do it with that method because it does involve lots of like fasted cardio and catabolic things that can wind up decreasing testosterone. Another thing that you can do is to adjust your workout so that you're incorporating things in your workout that have been shown to actually increase testosterone. And there are 3. Tea sipping stop. In no particular order of importance because there's multiple studies on all 3. Number 1 is never skip leg day, as Batman would say. No, seriously, lifting weights for your legs, particularly squats, lunges, and deadlifts, has been shown to be heavily associated with a post-workout surge in testosterone. That's even more pronounced when you fast for 2 to 3 hours following a lag-intensive workout or the other 2 workouts I'm about to show you. You get an increase in growth hormone and testosterone if you wait to eat dinner or shove that protein shake into your gaping maw post-workout, okay? Number 2 is sprinting. Anytime anybody tells you to do cardio, think of it in the context of sprinting. One of my favorite go-to workouts that I incorporate with a lot of my clients who want to increase testosterone but not lose their cardiovascular strength is to do a 10 by 10 on a treadmill, an elliptical trainer, a rowing machine, or a bike. It's very simple and straightforward. 10 rounds of 20 to 30 seconds as hard as you can go with full recovery between each. If you are short on time, the recovery can be as low as a 1-to-1 work-to-rest ratio, right, like 30 on, 30 off. It can be as high as a 1-to-4 work-to-rest ratio, right, like 20 to 30 seconds on, around 2 minutes off. So ultimately, high-intensity interval training like that, very effective. And then number 3 are complex lifts. I'm writing a note to myself to link for Richard to in addition to that sleep apnea stuff, and some sleep resources for you, as well as some cold thermogenesis resources for you. I'm also going to include an excellent database I discovered online that is a whole bunch of different barbell complexes. So barbell complex is where you would do like a deadlift to a Romanian deadlift to a bent over row to a front push press to a back squat to a back push press, then back down to the ground, and you do that like 8 times without ever putting down the bar. All right, so a complex is a whole bunch of full body exercises kind of strung together without putting the bar down. Okay, so those are my top 3 tips, would be to convert adipose tissue, white adipose tissue, into brown fat, to look at whether or not your sleep is interrupted during the night. And also, you can track sleep to do that. I'll put a link to a good sleep tracking blog that I have. And then finally, to include barbell complexes, leg days, and sprinting. Okay, so 3 things that you can do to stop killing your testosterone. Well, the first is to only drink high-quality tea. If you wonder what I'm drinking here, it's actually nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide tea. What is that? There are really expensive clinics all over the nation that do like NAD injections, and it's an anti-aging compound that's a very, very potent antioxidant. There's companies like Elysium, for example, that make a supplement called Basis that's supposed to increase longevity dramatically, decrease the rate at which telomeres shorten. Well, for pennies on the dollar, you can order this stuff called Pau d'Arco bark tea from like Amazon, and you ferment it, you blend it with some turmeric and a little bit of coconut oil, and it makes this amazing fat that releases these things called beta-lactochines that increase your NAD without you having to go stick a needle up your butt. So, anyways, we digress, but I'll link to an article that I wrote about that healthy little cocktail on my blog. Okay, things that you can do that you can stop doing that are killing testosterone. Number 1 is that if you smear it on your hair, skin, nails, teeth, whatever, and you can't eat it without dying a horrible death, it's probably got phytoestrogens in it that are going to decrease testosterone levels. I'm talking about your personal care products, your household cleaning chemicals. It annoys the hell out of me when guys come to me and they're on testosterone injections, lotions, creams, etc., and they're freaking using the shampoo at their local gym and their standard conditioner that, you know, whatever was on sale from the drugstore, and regular toothpaste that they got off Amazon. Okay, I have a whole article on detoxing your home that goes into everything from optimizing personal care products to household cleaning chemicals. But the idea is that when you put these estrogens into your body, they bind to the same receptor sites on your cells as testosterone does. So basically, the testosterone can't do what it's supposed to do. So be very careful with chemical exposure. The next one, a lot of guys don't like to hear this. So I drink alcohol every day of the year. I can't, well, let me put it this way. I can count on one hand the number of times this year I've had more than one drink in a row. Okay, so I drink every day for the antioxidants and the benefits from a heart health standpoint of having a glass of wine or a good glass of nutrient-dense beer, or even like hard alcohol with a good fresh squeezed juice every night. But I never do more than one drink in a row because that is a fast track to shoving your testosterone levels lower than that of an 8-year-old girl. Okay, so you can use other things to spin the dials in your brain. There are other things out there. Kana, Kava, microdosing with LSD, microdosing with psilocybin, ordering Iboga. What else? Kratom is another great one. Alcohol is it's pretty old school. It's a thing of the past when it comes to something that you use to spin the dials in your brain versus something that you would do at a max of 1 drink per night. So be very careful with alcohol. And as far as those other brain spinning alternatives I just gave you, be also very careful with weed. If you do weed, don't do a lot of it because it can decrease testosterone. If you use it, try to use CBD along with it because CBD can fix some of the issues with weed by binding to the same receptor sites as weed. I'll link to a good CBD article that I wrote as well, so you can wrap your head around that a little bit more. And then the last thing is, shocker, phone in the pocket. Phone in the pocket can affect the mitochondrial health, specifically of the Leydig cells in your testes, and decrease total testosterone and subsequently free testosterone production. So if I have my phone in my pocket, I use an actual case. I use a case called the Defender Shield case. My phone isn't even in here because I try to keep it pretty far from me a lot of the time. But basically, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all of that matters, and it especially matters if it's down by your crotch. Laptop in the crotch is another biggie. There's something called a HARA pad or an anti-radiation pad you can put in your lap when you're using your laptop. But those are the three things I see most. Personal care products and household cleaning chemicals, alcohol/weed, and then phone in the pocket. Okay, my take on boner pills. Sildenafil is the active ingredient in something like Viagra or Cialis, and it is not the worst of some of the pills out there. It's still somewhat processed by the liver. It can still create some dependency, and it can cause things like blurry eyes, racing heart rates, and frankly, it can be inconvenient to have to plan out when you're going to take your Viagra or Cialis in relation to when you're going to have sex. Say you go out to a bar, you meet a lovely lady, and then you start planning on based on when that pill is going to kick in, when you're going to sneak off to the bathroom, make an excuse, go swallow the pill because you realize that you're going to get lucky, come back out and hope it kicks in time, but not so soon that you get a boner on the dance floor. Those of you who have been in that situation know exactly what I'm talking about. So alternatives, non-pharmaceutical alternatives. The ones that I like as non-pharmaceutical alternatives, this might rabbit hole a little bit. The first is acoustic sound wave therapy. There are a series of clinics, and I've written an article on this, spread out across the U.S. that will do acoustic sound wave therapy on your dick. You go in once every 1 to 3 months. They use something called extracorporeal shockwave therapy. It's painless. Usually a hot nurse assists you with putting on numbing cream and then proceeds to blast away at your dick for about 20 minutes. And you walk out having boners like a 16-year-old boy for the next 1 to 2 months. Do you have to repeat it? Yes, but not as much as you have to repeat Viagra or Cialis. Okay, I do it about 4 times a year. That's it. They'll also do what's called a pee shot, where they take out your blood and then centrifuge it and re-inject what are called growth factors into your penis to make it larger and to increase vascularity. So there are a multitude of benefits. This one's called Gaines Wave. I'll give Richard a link to an article that I wrote on it if you want to inspect whether or not it's actually healthy. So the next one that I like as an alternative kind of flies in the face of what you'll read and say, like, you know, like Tim Ferriss, but like the 4 Hour Body, he talks about, like, you know, eating pine pollen and then a big fatty meal of like eggs and steak and avocado and oil. Anybody who's done that, you realize that you go into a food coma within about like 30 to 60 minutes. Most blood gets diverted from your crotch into your gut when that happens. And you actually, although you do experience an increase in testosterone, do not have great sex after you've done something like that, because you're basically burping steak fibers up into your lover's mouth. It's much, much better to include what I call a sex salad, which is a whole bunch of different nutrients that will increase nitric oxide production, very similar to what like a bodybuilder would do prior to when they want a full body pump, but not divert a lot of blood into the gut per se. So what do I mean by that? Well, some of the best things you could put on a salad to increase nitric oxide production. You make yourself a big salad of wild plants, kale, bok choy, nettle, arugula, anything mustard greens, any of those are very, very good. Dark, nutrient-rich plants. Arugula is especially good for nitric oxide release. Nitric oxide being basically the same molecule that is released in your body in response to the consumption of something like Viagra or Cialis or any other sildenafil containing component. So you got that bed of greens. Chunked watermelon, extremely effective. Some bodybuilders will eat a whole watermelon before going in to work out because of the pump that it gives you. Chunked watermelon on that salad, very good. Raw cacao nibs, also very good. Or in a pinch, you can also just like break open dark chocolate, put that on the salad, or gnaw on that separately at the same time that you're eating the salad. A little bit of extra virgin olive oil is fine, just not too much of the fats. Pumpkin seeds are also a good addition. Celery is a fantastic addition, right? Celery, arugula, watermelon chunks, extra virgin olive oil, some pumpkin seeds. Those are the type of things that you would have on a salad with a glass of red wine, which also increases nitric oxide production. That's a perfect light pre-sex meal. And then I'll also have a tea. Hey, that's a surprise. And what I like in a tea is 2 things. Number one is cistanche. It's known as the stalk herb in Chinese medicine, but cistanche, C-I-S-T-A-N-C-H-E. and then also pine pollen. You can buy both in like organic powdered form. There's a good website called Superman Herbs. I believe I think they actually just changed their name. I'll find it and send Richard a link. But I'll send a link to that, and then also a 45-minute presentation that I gave on a healthy sex salad if you want to take the deep dive into that. But that would be quite good as well. So you have the tea along with the salad. And then the final thing is, for sex, pay attention to a lot of the hidden variables too. I'm a huge fan of Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga is great for learning how to move energy up and down the spine and breathe in a way that taps into a lot of the positive aspects of tantric sex. Qigong is somewhat similar, but I'm actually a bigger fan of Kundalini because you can move around a lot more during Kundalini. And there's a really good book called The Multi-Orgasmic Male, if you haven't read that one. As far as resources for this stuff, for Kundalini, there's a girl I work with in Kauai who put together like a custom Kundalini, Kundalini practice for me personally. I told her one of the things that I wanted to do was to increase sex, increase the strength of my liver, my heart key, and my energy levels during the day while also burning some calories. And so I'll give Richard her contact details in case any of you want to reach out to her and have your own custom Kundalini routine made. That Multi-Orgasmic Male book is really good as well. So a few other little things that I would say can be useful. One is this light that I keep in my office. It looks like this. It's basically like a light panel, and you turn it on, and it's designed for infrared therapy. You can see how bright that is. But basically, what I do, the reason I keep it next to my desk, is this specific wavelength of light, 600 to 700 nanometers, has been shown to increase the mitochondrial activity in the Leydig cells of your testes and increase testosterone production. That light's called a Joovv light, Joovv, and I use that for about 5 to 20 minutes a day on my crotch. Works fantastically. You just need to be careful with the wavelength of light that you use because the wrong wavelength can actually kill cells in your testicles. So that would be one. What else? What else do I like? Creatine. Creatine flies under the radar, but just a very basic intake of 5 grams of creatine per day. No loading phase necessary, nothing like that. But there's some really interesting studies, not just on power and endurance and speed, which is what you'd expect from creatine, but it's been shown that it particularly elevates testosterone and also DHT, an even more bioactive form of testosterone. So you don't need a lot, though, just 5 grams per day of creatine. Let me think if there's any other nutrients I wanted to give you that kind of fly under the radar. I guess one big one would be zinc. If you can get your hands on shellfish every week, or I use a really, really good multivitamin that's got just a little bit of zinc in it. But a multi that has zinc or shellfish every week can be really, really good. Zinc is another one a lot of guys are deficient in. I will link to an article on my website with about 17 kind of like fringe biohacks for testosterone, written by a Finnish physician who's a friend of mine, a jacked testosterone-laden friend of mine. You'll probably enjoy that one as well. And if you guys have questions, you can always reach out to me. Richard can give you my contact information. But those are some of the biggies. So let's review. Burn fat with cold thermogenesis, focus on sleep, and particularly check for sleep apnea, do lots of barbell complexes, do lots of sprinting, and do lots of leg days. Make sure you detox your home and your personal care product cabinet, avoid alcohol and weed, and be careful with the phone/laptop. Try the dick shocking thing. Try the sex salad with a tea with the Sistanchi and pine pollen in it. Read the Multi-Orgasmic Male book. Pick up Kundalini Yoga. Try the Joovv light. Throw in some creatine. Throw in some zinc. Those are going to be your big wins. I know I flew through a lot of this stuff, but I just wanted to deliver as much value to you in the time that I had available. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Ben Greenfield. You can check out my free blog podcast at bengreenfieldfitness.com. There's my shameless self-promotion. I also have a book that's like 500 pages jam-packed with biohacks and tips and tricks like this, and that's at beyondtrainingbook.com. All said, Richard, this video, along with a whole bunch of links for you guys. Thanks for watching.